Now, do you know what time it is, folks?
That's right.
It's beanie time. It's time to take a look at Tim Pool says, what's this video? GOP electors cast dueling votes for Trump challenging Biden's win, but Democrats say it's over. So, Lord Beanie here is lending credence to the charade that the Republicans were doing by casting alternative elector ballots for today's elector vote. Again, if you missed earlier, you're just coming from the raid, I assume you already know. But the Electoral College cast their votes today. Every state except for Hawaii, last I checked, had done so, and of course Biden won. However, a bunch of Republicans got together and decided to cast basically mock votes for Donald Trump. It's very, very stupid. So let's see what Tim Pool thinks about this with his ginormous brain that can only be contained by his beanie.
Today is the day that the Electoral College members in each different state cast their votes for the President of the United States. And while it is one of the most significant days in the electoral process, it is not the end. They keep saying it's over. December 8th, safe harbor deadline, it's over. It's not over. The lawsuit's clearly continued.
It's over.
They say December 14th, it's over. They've counted their votes. And yes, as USA Today reports, 4 states contested by Trump cast their Electoral College votes for Biden. Boom, it's done. Newsmax, a newer channel heavily supported by Trump supporters, says the contested states have voted for Joe Biden, the future president-elect. They keep saying it's over, it's over, it's over, but...
If even Newsmax, which is literally a fascist right-wing propaganda network, like, let me be clear. For Newsmax viewers, Fox News is the left-wing media. So when Newsmax comes out and says, hey, Biden got the electors, he won the election,
that's right.
You can be sure everyone else knew that a month ago.
But it is not. On January 6th, as reported by the New York Times, Mike Pence will count the votes and determine who won the election. Now, there's one big problem for Democrats.
Oh, is this where the goalposts are moving? Now they're going to say that Mike Pence is going to throw out the election results?
As of right now, there's reporting coming out and official statements that the Republican electors have also cast their votes and will be sending them to Congress.
Again, those don't count, though. Those don't count. The ones that are certified by the governors, those are electoral votes. The things the Republicans filled out are fun pieces of paper that they decided to write their names on today. They have no legal bearing whatsoever.
It may be meaningless.
It's that one.
The Trump campaign has said that there will be alternate electors sent to Congress. These are called dueling electors. It has happened before. Interestingly, as many of these news outlets, even Newsmax, focus on the official governor or secretary of state approval of these electoral votes, they ignore what happened in 1960 with Richard Nixon.
Jesus Christ. Harry K5 with 20 bits. These people would have said President Eisenhower is communist. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. So is Newsmax is now communist? Well, gotta play it now. Jesus
There's
Christ.
nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Enlid with 20 bits, they're fantasy votes. It's like fantasy football, except the actions are spitting on the U.S. election. Pulp Free Fiction with 20 bits. YouTube started recommending me Tim Pool and Dave Rubin videos because I watch your YouTube channel. What did I do to deserve this? I never said being a fan of mine wasn't taxing.
Even though the governor approved Republican votes, they chose to count the Democrat votes instead. Now listen, I've long maintained I don't see Trump pulling this one out. I just don't. But it is not over. I don't know what that means. There's always some slim possibility something happens, but you need to understand two things. We just got a major breaking story I covered over at 1 p.m. over at Timcast News. The forensic analysis from the Dominion voting machines in Antrim County, Michigan came out, and the assessment from a Harvard-educated MIT affiliate.
The guy he's talking about was the same person who did the analysis that said that, oh my God, there were more there were more people voting in Michigan counties than there were people registered to vote in those counties. And then when you looked at it, he was comparing Minnesota counties to Michigan counts because he's an idiot, because he thought that MN stood for Michigan and not Minnesota when Michigan is MI. That's the guy that they're putting their claim on this one on. Genius. Tucker White 94 says, "Enlid, no, fantasy football has more credibility than these conspiracies. At least fantasy football still pays attention to what's actually going on in the game in real life." All this political theater is none of that.
Affiliated individual who worked with the CIA and NASA has said he believes that there is intentional fraud here. What you want to conclude from that, that's on you, but this is still going to change the game.
It's not.
The big reason these states are, the Republicans are casting electoral votes is not necessarily them saying, count us and ignore the will of the people. They're saying, so long as there are challenges, we must have our votes recorded.
That's incredibly stupid. For multiple reasons. Electors are partisan. What do you mean have your votes counted? They're meaningless in the Electoral College because you didn't win those states. We know that Republican electors would vote Republican. According to something I read earlier on this, it was basically their strategy. So future lawsuits that are going to go on, I'm sure, through January 20th and maybe even after, because the Trump campaign is stupid and desperate, they're trying to make it so they can't throw these lawsuits out as moot. Basically, that meaning that if your lawsuit cannot get you any sort of, what's the word I'm thinking of? If they can't give you any sort of restitution, if they can't give you any sort of fix to the claim you're making, I can't remember the word, maybe someone in chat will remind me, then the lawsuit can be thrown out as moot because even if they found in your favor, there's nothing they can do about it. Relief, thank you. They can't provide you relief. Therefore, why would we even waste time and government expenditure on this lawsuit? So the claim is that, well, if we do more lawsuits, then the Supreme Court can, or other courts, can throw them out as moot because the electors have already cast their ballots, right? But if we do this fake elector ballot thing, then we can say it's not moot. Then our relief is that you pick our, ballots instead. I don't think that's how it works. So I think they're all wasting their time, but that's the thought process behind it, as far as I read from an article earlier today.
That means in the next couple of weeks, maybe something happens, and then it comes down to January 6th, and Mike Pence pulls up Pennsylvania, and he pulls up Pennsylvania, says, there's 2 Pennsylvanias. Which ones do I count?
AW Ghost 82 at 20 bits. It's like they're trying to find a cheat code to circumvent reality. That's basically people on the right in a nutshell.
And maybe he'll choose. The one with the governor's stamp and seal of approval on it doesn't count, like Richard Nixon did. I don't like playing this game, and I've said it before about...
You clearly do! You're constantly pushing forward for civil war. Why do you do this, Tim? I watched a video of him, I think on Saturday on Chud Watch, and he was, again, calling for civil war. I don't know why Tim wants civil war so bad. Does he think he's gonna be doing rockin' kickflips on his skateboard through a battlefield with AK-47s owning the libs? Because that's not what would happen at all. I don't know why he wants war so badly, but it wouldn't be good for anyone, because war, as we all learned, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Not good. Not good for anyone. AW Ghost 82. Oh, nope, already read that one. Lord Cuckbucket with 50 bits. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. They have to have the majority in the Senate and the House both to switch to alternate voters or not count votes. It's not going to happen. Why would Democrats in the House go along with that? The cope can only be rivaled by the power of their grift. Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. Phoenix Vengeance, thank you for subscribing with a 7-month streak. Oh, shoot, lucky number 7. Love you, Hannah. Love you guys, too. Thank you.
Here's how Trump could still win, I'm not saying that.
Tim, all your videos are this. Stop trying to disassociate yourself from what you're doing. I hate when people do this. People do this on the right all the time. They'll be like, I disavow, I disavow, I disavow. Meanwhile, they're doing the thing. Stand by the thing you're doing. Tim, if you want to grift people and go on YouTube every day and make up a bunch of false election claims, then own it. Then do
There's
it.
nothing funny about
Stop
the tools of
hiding behind,
capitalism.
I'm not saying this, I'm not saying this, I'm not saying this, I'm just making 4 videos about it a day. You sound like a jackass. Don't do that. Stand by the things you're doing, or don't do them. If you're too embarrassed by what you're doing that you have to disavow from the thing you're doing, then that's your conscience trying to tell you to stop, and you're just not listening to it. Harry K5 with 20 bits. He wants civil war because he misses
There's nothing
being
funny
a
about the
conflict
tools of
reporter, and
capitalism.
everyone that he's covered in protests has not let him back in. And then Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Is it just me, or is Tim Pool a poor man's Ben Shapiro, who's a poor man's Rush Limbaugh?
I'm not saying Trump is going to win or is even likely to win. I think it's astronomically unlikely that Trump will win this, okay?
There's nothing
There's
funny about the
potentially
tools
some
of
martial
capitalism.
law moves he can make, but I just don't think he has the confidence of people working in government. I just don't see it. Sorry, that's my opinion. You can disagree.
You ever been such a bitch that you'll, like, sidestep, like, maybe we should do a fascist coup? But no, it probably won't work. But maybe. I almost prefer people like Terrence to people like Tim, because at least Terrence, while he's out of his mind, is like, I think we should do a fascist coup, okay? At least he's honest about the bullshit. Tim Pool is absolutely insufferable in his weaselly, I don't know, maybe we should do a fascist coup, but I don't know, I disavow that, but maybe.
There's nothing funny about the
I
tools
fucking
of
hate it. I
capitalism.
fucking hate that shit. Devious Chilster, there could be a coup. Ha ha ha. Just joking. Unless. Yes, exactly. It's ridiculous. Also, if there was another revolution in the US, if it fits with the last Civil War and most revolutions in history, things will move to the left. Yeah. It would be bad, though. No one wants that shit. And anytime things go into open conflict, people get hurt. There are all sorts of... It's not good. Don't ever advocate for that.
But I absolutely must report on the fact that on today, when the Electoral College set to vote, there are 3 states so far that appear to have dueling electors. Now, the left can say, it doesn't matter if they appoint them. It doesn't matter.
Correct. It doesn't matter if you do a little mock electoral vote. That's not how it works.
It doesn't matter what you think. We're talking about human beings who are fallible and make choices. And maybe, okay, maybe you think it doesn't matter, has no legal standing, fine.
Correct.
Maybe Mike Pence doesn't care what you think, and it'll have to go to the Supreme Court.
Again, with how the Supreme Court has so far dealt with all this election lawsuit chicanery, do you really think they want that to rock up to their door, you know, at the 11th hour? Mike Pence and Donald Trump being like, knock, knock, knock. We know you've thrown out multiple lawsuits that we sent up your way, but now we want to ignore the election results again. Will you let us? They've been clear on this. They're not hearing this bullshit. Stop wasting everyone's time.
These things are happening. So let's break down what's going on, where we're at, and I want to show you what happened in 1960 when the official governor's seal was rejected for
There's
other
nothing funny
votes.
about the
It's
tools
happening.
of capitalism.
Tiger White 94 with 20 bits. Oh god, can we watch the cleanse now? This Tim Pool word soup is irritating. After this video, we'll do a cleanse.
Doesn't mean it'll happen now. Doesn't mean it's extremely likely to. This is just what's going on. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are many
There's
ways you can
nothing
give. Got a
funny
P.O.
about the
box.
tools
You want to
of
send me some stuff.
capitalism.
But the best thing you can do, share this video. A lot of people might...
Killjoy 102. So if Mike Pence does ignore the Electoral College, Trump's term is still over, and it would be President Nancy Pelosi. Yeah.
not know what's going on. More importantly, YouTube probably won't show them what's going on because, well, you know, they've been putting their thumb on the scale to make sure news and information like this doesn't get out. Or at least they're trying their hardest to curtail it. You can counter this.
Tim, if you stopped lying, they'd stop not showing people your videos. You ever think of that? Just be accurate? That'd be great.
Suppression by sharing this video, and also helps my channel, helps me personally, so I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Here's the first official news from USA Today, and then I'll show you what's going on with these contested states. They say 4 states contested by Trump cast their electoral college votes for Biden. Nearly 6 weeks after Americans voted Joe Biden the next president, the Electoral College is meeting Monday and will make President Donald Trump's electoral loss official. No, it won't. The votes aren't going to be counted until January 6th. They just keep saying it's over when it's not.
Again, this is how every election works, and for some reason the Republicans this election cycle are pretending that it doesn't go like this. It's like they've never paid attention to an election before. Tim, all this stuff happens every single presidential election, and everyone considers it done on the night it gets called. No one cares. No one cares about the little formalities of it needing to go to the Electoral College and it needing to go to Congress. These are formalities. And the fact that you keep trying to step into these formalities and throw out the will of the people to try and install basically a dictator, not a good look. Not a great look. Don't do that.
Understand, with the advent of television and radio and internet, we can see them cast their votes. But we're only seeing what the media is showing us. That means if you watch right-wing media, if you watch, say, Right Side Broadcasting Network on YouTube, you will see Nevada casting votes for Trump. It's just all about propaganda and perception.
Again, those are the non-official fake elections. They're talking about the fake, non-real electors voting for Trump. I don't care if some right-wing fringe propaganda network shows a little mock vote that they have somewhere. It doesn't count. Rose Luna Shadow, thank you for subscribing with a 6-month streak.
We got to talk about what the legal ramifications are, and that's what we'll do. They say, in state houses across the country, 530 electors will formally cast their votes for either Biden or Trump based on the popular votes in their states. Biden, they say the next president-elect, which is a fair bet in my opinion, but sure, it's not true now, and Kamala Harris are expected to receive 306 electoral votes. I love how they say expected to, but still call him president-elect, topping 232 for Trump. The electoral votes will be counted at a special joint session of Congress on January 6th, before Biden and Harris are inaugurated on January 20th. 4 states contested by Trump cast electoral votes for Biden. They say Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona. Each voted for Joe Biden, electors in 3 battleground states, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona. Each voted for Joe Biden for president and Kamala Harris for vice president Monday, delivering a collective blow to President Donald Trump, who sought to overturn the election results in each state. The votes, which came before 1 p.m., gave Biden 20 electoral votes from Pennsylvania, 16 from Georgia, and 11 from Arizona.
Tucker White 94, imagine getting worked up over electoral college meetings. I watched a video of one today. It's basically a city council meeting with less lighting. Right, it's a formality. It's a complete formality. They all know why they're there and who they're voting for. It's just ceremonial, basically, at this point.
Nevada earlier cast its ballots for Biden, meaning 4 of 6 states
Biden's live. Okay.
Contested by Trump have completed their votes. Quote, "The people have spoken, and we respect the majesty of the democratic system," said Pennsylvania Secretary of State Kathy Boockvar, a Democrat, quoting President George H.W. Bush, as she kicked off, they said Georgia, as she kicked off her state's meeting. "Your participation today in this electoral college proves once again the durability of our Constitution and the majesty of our democracy. In this historic moment, our democracy rests here with you." Let's stop for a second. They're not telling you what Trump is thinking and what Trump is doing. They say it's a collective blow to the president. Why? Stephen Miller, alternate electors will keep Trump election challenge alive.
Again, the entire purpose of the fake electors thing, and they are fake, make no mistake about that, it's completely nonsense. It's to try and keep lawsuits from getting thrown out as moot, which is a bad strategy anyway, because all the Supreme Court would say, if it got up to them, would be like, we can't take these non-counting fake ballots and supplement them for the correct ones, or supplement the correct ones for the fake ones, right? Because they're not real. You can't just write on a piece of paper, "I elect Donald Trump," and then ask the court, "Court, please, will you please take my election ballot and make it official?" No, they can't do that. It doesn't matter what you wrote on a piece of paper. It's not real. The governors of the states didn't sign off on that shit. It's not an official legal vote for the Electoral College. Lord Cuckbucket with 20 bits. "I say we use our special fraud skills and send in 30 votes each so Hannah and Kitty take office, since anyone can just send them in now." Where we go one, we go. Wait, never mind. That slogan is already taken.
They say President, this is from The Hill.
I did forget the ooh-woo. Ooh-woo, Supreme Court. Ooh. Please make Daddy Trump president. Ooh.
President Trump's allies are preparing to send an alternate slate of electors to Congress.
Ashyboo74 with 20 bits. I finished my grading. Now I can watch without distraction. Nice.
Senior White House advisor Stephen Miller said Monday, signaling Trump will drag out his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election, even after the Electoral College certifies Joe Biden as the winner. Okay, certification already happened in many of these states. They're not certifying the votes until January 6th.
Thank you for following.
Sorry. Miller, appearing on Fox News as a senior advisor to the Trump campaign, brushed off the idea that the Electoral College vote marked any kind of end to the process. The only date in the Constitution is January 20th, so we have more than enough time to right the wrong of this fraudulent election result and certify Donald Trump as the winner of the election, Miller said on Fox and Friends. As we speak today, an alternate slate of electors in the contested states is going to vote, and we're going to send those results up to Congress, he continued. This will ensure that all of our legal remedies remain open. That means that if we win these cases in the courts...
They're not certified by the governors of these states, though. They mean nothing. Why?
That we can direct that the alternate slate of electors be certified. Electors from every state will meet Monday, that's today. Miller indicated that Trump supporters will act as alternates in a handful of contested states, including Georgia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, to submit their own unofficial results. Should the Trump campaign succeed in overturning the outcome in any of those states, Miller said, the alternate electors could then be recognized by Congress. Nothing in the Constitution or state electoral process allows for such an alternate slate of electors. But that is still irrelevant. What matters...
Did Tim just admit that he thinks the Constitution is irrelevant? It's a bit candid for him, but okay.
...is, if they say something today, something could still change. Look, I say this a lot, but you got to understand, we're talking about human beings, okay? If the will of the people changes on some day and people just do it, then so be it. Look, I'll pull up the historical precedents. We can see 1960, United States presidential election in Hawaii. They say, initially, it appeared Republican candidate Richard...
Devious Chilster with 20 bits. It's so effing telling that even with this, they're still saying so Trump can win instead of ensuring a fair election. They don't want fairness, they just want another Trump win. Yeah. They've abandoned democracy. Well, we're well past that.
Nixon had won in the state, as he was 141 votes ahead after the first count. A court-ordered recount was still underway when Hawaii's Republican governor signed the certificate from the GOP electors, giving the state's 3 electoral votes to Nixon. Let me stop right there. There are still election contests going on.
Not like that. Not at all like that. In this particular case that you've pulled up, that I'm literally reading about right now as it's on the screen, is because Richard Nixon was ahead in those states, or in that state. We're talking about a singular state, Hawaii, where it looks like Richard Nixon won, and then they were in the middle of a recount, and despite it being in the middle of a recount, they certified those results because Nixon was ahead. That's not what you're asking for here. You're asking for them to do the opposite of this by saying, well, Biden is ahead in these states by either tens or hundreds of thousands of votes, depending on which state we're talking about. So let's just give it to the other guy that lost, just because. These are not the same thing, and you're also citing a 60-year-old precedent on top of that happened once, and it's not even applicable to the current situation. I'd say it's a stretch, but I don't even think it's a stretch at this point. It's an outright fabrication of a connection. These are not the same situation. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. I was wrong to call Tim Pool a poor man's Ben Shapiro. Not even Ben Shapiro does talk this much word salad. Harry K5 with 20 bits. Have you seen this Hulk car launch glitch from Cyberpunk 2077? It's hilarious. I did see it. I'm not going to play it again here, but I did see it. It's pretty funny. Although I am frustrated by the state of the game currently.
Lawsuits are still happening.
Harry K5 with 20 bits. I remember that from the 1960 U.S. election that NBC called for California for Kennedy, but then it went for Nixon.
And data is still being released. And
then Butterfiend69 with 100 bits. They're going to move the goalposts so far that after Trump does, they'll say he's playing 4D chess. He's going to return to us someday to own the libs, and then a new religion will be born.
governors certified the results. That's what we're seeing today. It does not mean it's set in stone.
It basically does.
Nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Ashiboo74 with 20 bits, but 60-year-old precedent is all they have. That delusion and a couple bucks will buy you something from McDonald's.
I'm going to pause again and say, I don't think Trump wins. But if we follow the precedent from 1960, it's possible that Mike Pence, in several, couple weeks...
How? That's not precedentiary. Like, it's not even the same situation. Again, in the situation you were citing, Nixon was appearing to be ahead. They just ignored that they were going through a recount. But Nixon was ahead as far as they were concerned, so they gave it to Nixon. That's the opposite of what's happening now.
Says, based on the new information in court orders, we're not counting the Democrat victors. That's why these days don't really matter. It's all about what people decide. If the Supreme Court makes a decision, it could change everything. But look,
Daddy Sume with 20 bits, Wasteland 3 as something like that, except it was Reagan. They worshipped a giant AI robot of Reagan.
let's read on. They say this. A court order recount was still underway when they signed a certificate from the GOP electors giving the states 3 electoral votes to Nixon. Now, to be fair, that's a court-ordered action. Just because there's lawsuits doesn't mean it's the same thing. On the same day, the Democratic electors also issued a certificate awarding the votes to Kennedy, just like we're seeing now with the Republicans. The final recount showed Kennedy had actually prevailed, forcing the governor to sign the second certificate from the Democratic electors. Both certificates had arrived in Washington by the time Congress convened in January 1961, with then Vice President Nixon charged with presiding over a joint session to certify his own election loss. Hearing no objections, Nixon ordered the Democratic certificate counted and ignored the accompanying Republican certificate, even though it also bore the governor's signature as required by federal law.
Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. That's Saint Reagan to you, Daddy Sube. Okay, so Nixon said to do the opposite, which is a completely different situation, and also they apparently both had the governor's signature. Again, different situation entirely.
I do not think Trump is going to win this. I'll say it 50 million times. I know many...
I don't think Trump is going to win this. I'm just going to make multiple videos harping about this for months. Let's see what he's got. This video, which we're currently watching, New York Times says that it's not over for Trump as GOP has final major plan. Democrats demand criminal charges for Trump risking all-out war. 44 states disputing election. All his videos recently are about this bullshit. What a grift. I wish I was that good of a grifter. Dr. Xanadu with 20 bits. The goalposts are on Voyager too. And then Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. So wait, what's the plot here now? I don't know. I've lost it, but it's okay. I think Tim has too.
Trump supporters might not like that opinion from me, but that's just my opinion. My predictions seem to be not worth all that much, so I'll just show you what's going on. From PAGOP.org. Republican electors cast procedural vote, seek to preserve Trump campaign legal challenge, saying...
Procedural vote meaning it's bullshit. Doesn't mean anything.
At the request of the Trump campaign, the Republican presidential electors met today in Harrisburg to cast a conditional vote for Donald Trump and Mike Pence for president and vice president, respectively. Quote, "We took this procedural vote to preserve any legal claims that may be presented going forward," said Bernie Comfort, Pennsylvania chair of the Trump campaign. This was in no way an effort to usurp or contest the will of the Pennsylvania voters. Today's move by Republican...
It's just a way in order to push through lawsuits that do wish to subvert the will of the voters. Interesting.
Party electors is fashioned after the 1960 presidential election, in which President Nixon was declared...
Empress Emily, thanks for following. And Mel Hoyolo, thank you for following.
While Democrat legal challenges were pending, Democratic presidential electors met to cast a...
We need to... Hannah, we have bigger news. This needs to be covered. It affects our entire species. Oh, God, what is it? Pornhub just purged all unverified content from the platform. I heard about this. This is due to some lawsuits they're doing over potentially hosting underage content accidentally because they
There's nothing
can't
funny
confirm
about the
who's
tools
in
of
user-uploaded
capitalism.
videos. So they just removed all the user-generated content, which is interesting. The Under 92 with 20 bits, so I know Tim is grifting here, maybe, but if people truly still believe this at this point, it's literally delusional. These people need genuine help, I don't understand. They talk about the left not letting go, but goddamn, yeah, it's a whole other level. It's crazy. Turf Warfare with 100 bits, kind of off topic, but where do you draw the line for when to laugh and when to reach out to help someone? It's easy to laugh at QAnon, but we're going to ignore that it's clearly and disgustingly targeting fringe and mentally ill people and radicalizing them, and it's sad, to be honest. Oh, I know. I absolutely understand that. This show, for entertainment, we make fun of these people, but if you know someone like this in real life, I would hope you don't treat them the way I talk about these people on the show. I'd like to think I'm giving you certain talking points about, like, what's bullshit and where they're getting some of this bullshit information, but, like, I would never address someone like this in real life, or even online, person to person, the way I address them here, unless I'm just totally over their shit, right? You want to try and be understanding, even if it's very hard to do so. Even if you don't really understand them, you're not going to reach people and try and de-radicalize them by being like, you're an idiot, this is stupid, you know, stuff like that. It's fun to make fun of this stuff, and it's fun to talk about why they're wrong and why it's delusional. But you kind of want to bring people back, like, Socratic method's always good, asking them questions about their belief to get them to come to conclusions about why their beliefs are not in line with reality rather than asserting them to them, because that will often just entrench people further in their own opinions. Same with, like, the conspiracy stuff we do on Tuesdays when we, you know, debunk conspiracy theories. You don't want to be directly confrontational, usually, because when people are directly confronted about their beliefs being wrong, it'll just entrench them further in said beliefs. You gotta get people to think about these things in ways they maybe haven't already. So while I do think we have a good time here, and it's fun to make fun of Tim Pool and, you know, the quartering and all these people, you need to be able to have a more deft touch when dealing with people in real life. Devious Chilster with 20 bits, this honestly reminds me of that one woman, I forget her name, but she believed Brent Spiner was her husband, and people kept showing her, and it started to get less and less funny when you start to realize that she legitimately needed help. Yeah, Gail. Her name was Gail. And I think she's still on YouTube somewhere. She came up with the new cocky, which was a nuclear bomb filled with cum. Yeah. That was wild.
Conditional vote for John F. Kennedy to preserve their intent in the event of future favorable legal outcomes. The conditional resolution states.
Yeah, someone said, oh, what? Yeah, she believed that there was what she called a new cocky, which was a nuclear bomb. I don't know how this would work because, you know, a nuclear bomb would fry cum. It would vaporize it, but the idea would be it's like a nuclear bomb, but it explodes and it covers everyone in cum, and then it impregnates women with the cum. I don't know where they're getting this volume of cum, but that was her belief. That was her belief.
That electors certify their vote for the president and vice president on the understanding that if, as a result of a final non-appealable court...
Can I pull that up? Hold on. Hold on, I should probably put the camera not on while I look this up. New cocky.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
The Under 92 with 20 bits, a nuclear bomb would fry cum. December 14th, 2020. Tucker White 94, 20 bits, silly Hannah. Everyone knows the only thing that survives a nuclear war are cockroaches and cum. True. Okay.
I have a very sad video to make today. The Canadian nation has been hit with this new cocky bomb. I'm going to read a letter that I got from Brent Spiner, dated December the 21st, 2011, 1:10 a.m. My dear wife, I am writing to you from the Canadian International Hospital where I sit in quarantine, zipped inside a dreadfully squeaky white hazmat suit. These suits actually look like the space suits we used on the set of Star Trek. So at the very least, I know I look cute in them. What I am writing you is a first-hand account of the horrible bombing that took place today. All of Canada has been bukkakied. I cannot describe to you the smell. The sensations are so vivid in my mind, I have had trouble sleeping. Every time I close my eyes, the scene comes pouring back into my eyes, my ears, my nostrils, my mouth, like a horrific rape scene stuck on repeat. Minutes from hour zero, I sat in the hospital room next to Terrance Jenkins. My heart was pounding. My palms were sweating as I flattened them on the cold window, dilating.
You get it. You get it. I don't need to play more of that. Jalen Jean with 20 bits. I don't remember this part of Fallout. And then Devious Chillster with 20 bits. I'm so glad I reminded you of this. Swing the Ultimate Dog with 20 bits. I'm sorry. What's happening? Lord Cuckbucket with 20 bits. Finally, the one poor guy born with bowling balls in that in that sack has a chance to be the cum hero the world needs. And then Cornhole Blaster with 50 bits. As a Canadian, I can confirm I am covered in cum. Okay. So, obviously that's all hilarious, but it's actually tied to a very sad story. She's like mentally ill and she needs help. But boy, that was a meme for a while. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that new cocky thing was a meme. I think she later also talked about a poo cocky, where it was one with poo or something. The Ender 92 at 20 bits, we need a random quote bot, and that quote needs to be on it.
Order or other proceeding prescribed by law. They are ultimately recognized as being the duly elected and qualified electors for President and Vice President of the United States of America from the state of Pennsylvania. We also have this from Right Side Broadcasting Network breaking Nevada GOP electors cast ballot for Donald J. Trump, declaring him winner of 6 electoral votes in Nevada.
Again, calling them electors implies that they have some sort of legal standing to do this. They don't. They're probably the people who would have been selected as electors had Donald Trump won Nevada, but he didn't, so they're not the electors. Killjoy102 with 100 bits. I laughed so much when I watched her on Drunken Peasants, but then I found out her 4chan tortures have gotten her to throw out her antipsychotic meds. Yeah, people treat people like that online really, really poorly. Look at, like, Christine Chandler for another example of that.
So we also then have Georgia. David Schaefer, who is with the GA Republicans. He is the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party. He said, because the president's lawsuit contesting the Georgia election is still pending, the Republican nominees for presidential elector met today at noon at the state capitol and cast their votes for president and vice president. It has happened. There are dueling electors. It doesn't mean Congress will recognize them. But
they won't.
I believe there are going to be Republicans who object to the Democratic votes. We saw 100.
They might, but you need both chambers to agree to reject a state's votes. And the House is controlled by Democrats, so it's not going to happen. Even Pence, in terms of his job to get the votes and say, yeah, these are the votes, I don't think he would do anything fucky there, because I think Mike Pence probably would want to run for president someday. And if he did that shit, his political career's over. So I don't think that's a good idea on his part.
26 Republicans in the House support the Texas lawsuit. The likelihood that we see individuals sign on to object the electoral votes and bring up the alternate votes, I believe it's very, very likely.
Sure, they can bring it up, and then they'll be like, no, we're not going to vote to decertify these votes. Fuck you. And then it'll move forward.
Let me tell you. When will these people on the left realize Trump is not playing around and will take this to the bitter end?
I think we all recognize that Donald Trump is a narcissistic sore loser that is literally going to fight this every step of the way. We're just annoyed by it. It's annoying having someone with the most power of any individual human on Earth acting like a baby. It's frustrating.
He's willing to go this far. Don't you think January 6th will come around and we are going to see objections? My personal opinion, Mike Pence, honorably and respectably, will take a look at the votes. Trump having his court cases not pan out because they, many of these challenges, not just from Trump but from others, haven't been panning out. He will likely just say, I see the objection. However, this one's got the stamp from the governor and this one doesn't. The Democrats get the votes. It is still possible Mike Pence, and this is what the New York Times said, could say, I'm not counting either because the state is clearly in dispute. The state legislatures are the ones who have final say. If they say we direct these electors, possibly Mike Pence could be like, I'm not counting them. And if he doesn't, we've got, I believe, that brings us to, we got 20 in Pennsylvania. We have, what are the states? Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Nevada. So 26 and 16, we're looking at about, 42? That takes Joe Biden. That means Joe Biden is not going to be the winner. He will.
Again, if any of this happened, then Nancy Pelosi would end up the president if it's not decided by, January 20th. Which I don't think the Republicans want. I don't want that either. In fairness, I also don't really want Biden to be president, but he's better than Trump, so... Dan Rossi draws the 50 bits. Here's how Bernie Sanders can still win the 2016 primary. Out of nowhere, they installed Jeb Bush. It's all been 5D chess. Jeb Bush has been behind it all.
Will not break 270.
Jeb Bush created coronavirus in his lab to orchestrate a series of events so he could win the election.
And then we'll have a contingent election, as most of you are probably aware. And these are just 3 states that, it was 3 states Trump needed to dispute in order to make this happen. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. And again, I've said a million times, I don't think so. But the precedent is still really, really interesting. Now I want to show you something. This is from the Baltimore Sun. I highlighted this from the New York Times, but many people have been talking about it.
There's nothing funny
People need
about
to
the
recognize
tools of
on the left. This is
capitalism.
why I say share this video. Let them know.
The Under 92 at 20 bits. Could you imagine the shitstorm our conservative would be having if a Democratic sitting president and supporters were acting like this? Just makes me seethe. I know. They're such fucking hypocrites. It's absolutely ridiculous.
This is Trump's strategy. For now. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but it's important you know what's going on. You ignore it, that's when Trump wins. With the Electoral College had to cast votes for Biden on Monday, Trump allies eye long-shot election reversal in Congress. They say, as the president continues to refuse to concede, a small group of his most loyal backers in Congress is plotting a final stage challenge on the floor of the House of Representatives in early January to try to reverse Biden's victory. Constitutional scholars and even members of the president's own party say the effort is all but certain to fail. But the looming battle, January 6th, is likely to culminate in a messy and deeply divisive spectacle that could thrust President Pence into the excruciating position of having to declare once and for all that Trump has indeed lost the election. Now, I believe this is the same New York Times article just posted to the Baltimore Sun. But I want you to take that and recognize what that means. What are the 2 things we need for this challenge to happen?
And Lid with 20 bits. No, the way Trump wins is people like you pushing these absurd notions, Tim. He knows that. That's why he's doing it. Also the grift.
They can't just have people object. I object to that state.
Do I think Tim knows his days of grifting are numbered now? I don't even think that's true. That's the stupid thing. People like Tim and Sargon and all these right-wing chuds, they work so much better as an opposition party, right? Their grift works when they are in the opposition because then every day they can pump out videos like, here's the thing Joe Biden did that I don't like. Here are things that are problems. I'm going to blame them on Joe Biden, you know? Same thing they did with Obama for 8 years, right? And I'm not saying Obama was perfect, far from it. Like, there are tons of shit to criticize with Obama. But I'm saying, like, what Tim does and what Sargon does is in bad faith will criticize things that are not necessarily worth criticizing. Like Fox News did with Obama, like wearing a tan suit or whatever bullshit, you know? They can't really criticize drone strikes because they like that shit. So, it's just weird to me. Like, Tim, you're about to have a great 4 years. You're about to make way more money than you are making over this Trump grift. I really don't understand why they give a shit about this. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. It's not all but certain. It will fail. Yeah.
I mean, you could, considering there's arguments and, disputes and there's lawsuits.
Welcome,
But now
Demi Bird.
with a dueling slate of electors, we've seen it many times before. It could ultimately end with them saying, "I object."
Lilith
and
TW,
Mike
thank
Pence
you for
saying,
following, and Carrie and
"I'm not dealing
Camping,
with
thanks
this
for
objection.
following.
I don't have time, and I'm not a judge. Take it to the Supreme Court. Maybe it goes to the Supreme Court. Maybe it's January 15th, and we still have no idea what's going to happen. I'll tell you what I think.
That's right.
It's currently December 14th, and we already know what's going to happen. So what are you talking about?
January 15th is going to come around, and Trump's still going to be fighting, but
The Unforgiving
it's gonna be
Squid, thanks for
certified
following.
for Joe Biden. That's my opinion. Look, I'll tell you, my gut says Donald Trump somehow finds a way to do this.
You literally said all throughout the video you don't think Donald Trump is going to win, and now you're saying he will be able to do this. Which is it?
But my head clearly says it's effectively done. Okay.
Overthought.
The Texas
Thanks for
lawsuit was
following.
the best chance. Even Alex Jones, I had him on the IRL podcast, was saying that's basically I mean,
There's
we're
nothing
talking
funny about the tools
super
of
Hail
capitalism.
Mary at this point for Trump to try and pull anything off. It's just not at all likely. But it's been in the plan. It's been in the works for a long time. Let me show you this from Reuters. Explainer.
Tiger White 94 with 20 bits. The problem for effers like Tim Pool and other grifters is that they like the conservative shit that Joe Biden will do, which is pretty much anything economics related, so they have to stretch for shit to complain about, unlike people like David Pakman and Kyle Kulinski. I'm sure they'll find plenty to complain about. Like pro-trans policies or pro-LGBT policies or reversing the Trump order on, like, teaching critical race theory or some shit, and they'll blow that out of proportion.
There's nothing funny
Mitchell
about
Drummer
the
with 20
tools
bits.
of
Do you guys
capitalism.
remember, like, 6 years ago when the big stories in the news were stuff like Obama puts mustard on his hot dogs? Those were simpler times. I remember when I can go a long period of time without knowing what Obama was doing. I was less politically engaged then, in fairness, but, like... It didn't feel like I needed to be. Although, again, that's part of me being relatively ignorant. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. Oh my god, he's still going? Yeah.
Dueling
yeah, he is.
electors pose risk of U.S. vote deadlock from October 16th. We have known this could happen. It's not being pulled out of nowhere. Trump and Trump supporters did not just make up today, let's try this random thing. We have been warned this was going
Yeah, they've been planning seditious acts for a while. That doesn't make them good.
to happen. So when it does come January 6th, or I mean it's happening now, don't be surprised if there's confusion and more legal challenges. Reuters reported in October, in the U.S., a candidate becomes president by securing the most electoral votes rather than winning a majority of the national popular vote.
There's
Known
nothing
as the
funny
Electoral
about
College,
the tools of
the system
capitalism.
allots electors to the 50 states and the District of Columbia largely based on their population.
That means he's a normal person, unlike the heathens who put ketchup on hot dogs. Those people deserve time in Gulag in Minecraft. I put ketchup on hot dogs. Deal with it.
It is theoretically possible for the governor and legislature, each representing a different political party, to submit two different election results, leading to so-called dueling slates of electors. Let me just say, the governor and the legislature. It is the legislatures in these states that have been challenging the results. We will see. They say below are the details of how it might play out. You know what the electors are. There's 538. They
There's
represent
nothing funny about the
each
tools
state
of
gets one based on
capitalism.
how many congressmen they have and
Then I'm
how
a
many
filthy,
congresspeople
degenerate
they have,
heathen.
and how many senators they
True.
have. What are dueling electors? They say states with close contests between Republican President Trump and Joe Biden could produce competing slates of electors, one certified by the governor and the other by the legislature. The risk of this happening is heightened in the battleground states of Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, which have Democratic governors and Republican-controlled legislatures. Some election law experts are concerned that an unprecedented volume of mailed-in votes and legal challenges will delay the outcome of the election for weeks, creating an extended period of uncertainty. Trump has repeatedly said the election is rigged and made unfounded attacks on mail-in voting, which tends to favor Democrats. If early returns show a Trump lead, which it did, experts say the president could press Republican-controlled legislatures to appoint electors favorable to him, which he is, claiming the initial vote count reflects the true outcome, which he did. And many Trump supporters
Again, falsely. He claimed these things. Falsely.
are citing now the Constitution, which says on election day, you appoint the electors. There is a subsequent provision added later. I don't think it's an amendment, so this might get challenged, that says if they don't appoint them on that day, they can still appoint them later. Governors in those same states could end up backing a separate slate of electors, pledging to Biden if the final count showed the Democratic candidate had won, which is what happened. Both sets of electors would meet and vote on December 14th, and the competing results would be sent to Congress, which just happened. Which set of electors would prevail?
The official ones. The real ones. The real ones.
Both chambers of Congress could accept the same slate of electors, which would almost certainly put the matter to rest. The chambers could also split, which is more likely if the Republicans retain control of the Senate and Democrats hold onto the House majority, which happened. Republicans could just be like, we don't care. We're counting the Republican votes for Trump.
No, they can't, Tim. Again, apparently you didn't even fucking look this up prior to this video. Both chambers of Congress have to agree to throw out certain states' electors. It's not how it works.
And the House could be like, we don't care, we're voting Democrat. And then Mike Pence goes, I don't know, no vote.
And then Pelosi becomes the president.
The tools of capitalism.
I don't think Republicans want that. Shaded Lexi with 20 bits. I really want to sit this guy down and explain to him how much he doesn't understand. Dunning-Kruger is a killer, folks.
Seriously. Look, this was written in October by Reuters. If lawmakers cannot agree on a set of electors, the country will find itself in uncharted territory. The Electoral Count Act, often described by academics as unintelligible, seems to favor the slate of electors certified by the state's governor, according to Ned Foley, a professor at Ohio State University Moritz College of Law. But Foley notes that some scholars and an analysis by the Congressional Research Service have rejected that conclusion. Academics have sketched out several scenarios. Under one, Pence, as president of the Senate, could throw out both sets of the state's electors. Another contemplates that the House of Representatives would end up choosing between Biden and Trump. There is even a scenario in which the Speaker of the House, currently Democrat Nancy Pelosi, could become acting president. Yup. Would the U.S. Supreme Court get involved? They say the Supreme Court may be called upon to interpret the Electoral College Act to break any deadlock. A Supreme Court ruling helped resolve the 2000 Bush v. Gore case, but that case was about a recount in Florida, and the decision was reached before electors met to cast their votes. Quote, I think there will be legal challenges, said Jessica Levinson, director of Loyola Law School's Public Service Institute. But I could see a court saying this would really be better left up to Congress. Has it happened before? In 1876, dueling electors in 3 states were deadlocked until a deal was brokered days before Inauguration Day. The dispute was resolved if a Republican, Rutherford B. Hayes, became president in exchange for withdrawing U.S. troops left over from the Civil War from southern states. Quote, I hope it's a very low probability event, but 1876 is a reminder that it is not zero, and we have come very close to...
Tucker White 94 with 20 bets. A thought occurs, what if Nancy Pelosi was actually Trump's ringleader the whole time? Think about it. She gets him to talk Pence into overturning the results, which makes her president. She was playing 420D chess this whole effing time. Yeah, sure.
Falling over that cliff in our history, Foley said. 1876. Heck of an election. Dueling election.
Can we all agree the Electoral College is like the dumbest shit ever? The fact that this is even a question is so ridiculous. It's not even close. Biden won by like 8 million votes.
Electors get sent. They couldn't determine who was actually the winner. So they convened a panel of judges and better men, as they like to say back then. High, just like people of prestige, I suppose. Forming a council to determine who the president would be. Yeah, that's how things went down. We're all biased because we've lived in this country for a long time. And over time, the country's institutions sort of solidify and people just adhere to them. But you need to realize what they did in 1876 had nothing to do with the Constitution for the most part. It was them being like, we need a solution because we don't want the Civil War to start back up. So the South was like, I'll tell you what, you guys get your president, you end Reconstruction. And that happened.
Which was a terrible move, by the way. That went really badly. And the pulling out and the lack of, like, Reconstruction efforts from the North to the South still permeate politics in the South to this fucking day. History isn't something that just happened in the past, people. It affects us all every single day.
Reconstruction effectively ended in 1876 when a panel just said, I guess that's the president? Yeah. So listen. You've got your establishment bias and you've got your anti-establishment bias. I think the anti-establishment individuals are the ones saying, I don't care what's written on, in your formalized notebook about how things go.
The formalized notebook. The Constitution. Tucker White 94 20 bits. It seriously is, Hannah. I don't understand how ostensibly full-functioning adults can look at everything that has happened and still think, yeah, the Electoral College isn't bloody stupid. It's so dumb.
The people on the anti-establishment types are like, is it in the Constitution? The media keeps saying president-elect. But
yes, because, again, we've all lived through elections, Tim. We know how this works.
according to the Constitution, that is meaningless.
Hey, let's look at this. Oh, the office of the president-elect means nothing? Isn't it weird that when Donald Trump won in 2016, he was going around with a little thing that said the office of the president-elect? Isn't it funny that people like Tim Pool didn't give a shit when Donald Trump went around after the 2016 election and called himself the president-elect? Because literally every single president does this when they get elected? Fucking weird. It's almost like they're complete hypocrites.
So you effectively have the anti-establishment type saying, is it in the Constitution? You have the left, the Democrats, the establishment saying, we go by our norms, which are not codified or in the Constitution. Joe Biden is not president-elect until January 6th, and we now have dueling slates of electors. Mind you, in Michigan, I don't know if Michigan's going to be, casting their electoral votes for Trump as well, like and doing a dueling election. They may have already done this. Michigan legislature presses ahead with investigation into election irregularities. Quote, there's still a high level of interest across the state. This is a story from Just the News. We got a report that was released, a judge ordered it released, from a guy who's Harvard educated, associate, he worked with MIT.
And Lid with 20 bits, I don't think we can ever get rid of the Electoral College fully. It would probably take a constitutional amendment that needs like 2/3 of the states, and the rural states won't go for it probably. The best to hope for is awarding electoral votes proportionally by popular vote count, sure. If we get a workaround that works more similarly to that, that'd be okay. It's not perfect, but it would be better than what we're doing right now.
NASA, the CIA, Duke University, and he said that they believe that the Dominion voting machines were intentionally producing errors.
Again, I talked about this guy earlier. He's a partisan hack that was making shit up for Sidney Powell. So, don't take him as a source that's legitimate.
That would provide an opportunity for an election official without being traced or tracked to adjudicate votes and decide where they go. They say it was intentional, and it's a very, very damning report. For a lot of people, it's definitive proof. I don't know where it brings us. It needs to go to court. But that's it. It needs to go to court. Wisconsin recently ruled that COVID was not grounds for indefinite confinement, meaning there's potentially 200,000 votes that are in question.
No, it's not. We literally read that judgment today by the Supreme Court. I don't know if he recorded this maybe before the Supreme Court decision, but the Supreme Court decision today that we read earlier in this stream came out and said, no, it's fine. That's fine. We're not throwing out 200,000 votes, you big babies. So Tim's just full of shit on this one.
If we remove the 55,000 people who claimed this in the last cycle and say we got 155,000, which is anomalous, Trump may be able to find 10 or 20,000 votes.
If we just throw out all the votes that were cast legally by people who voted for Biden, then Trump can win. Do these people listen to themselves? They're just openly talking about being a dictatorship. We just want to throw out the votes of the people we don't like. That's not wrong, is it? Tucker White 94, 20 bits. Wait a minute. Did Tim Pool say NASA is saying this election was fraudulent? Okay, I simp for NASA, but what do literal rocket scientists know about election fraud? He worked for NASA, though. That means things.
Qualify and get him thrown out. The courts ruled the votes can be thrown out.
No, they didn't. Again, we literally read it earlier today. Maybe he's talking about a decision of a lower court, but today we read the Wisconsin Supreme Court decision that said, no, you can't throw these votes out.
That's why it's important that these electors cast their votes the way they did. The challenges are not done. It's very possible.
Oh, maybe he was just recording this when it was still in the court? Well, we read the decision today. No, the Wisconsin Supreme Court said you can't throw these votes out, you jackasses.
That in the end, Donald Trump prevails. I say very possible. I didn't say very likely. I don't know how many times I need to say that I don't think it's likely, but the reason I'm doing that, listen, it's just my opinion. In my opinion, I thought Trump was going to win based on the down ballots and everything. Look, I'll tell you this. My prediction was actually pretty good.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Do we need to go look at Tim Pool again? Let me see if Tim Pool Clips still has that thing pinned. Let me take a look. No, dang it. Oh, here we go. It's still here anyway.
Kamala and Biden might be throwaway candidates. They know they're going to get steamrolled in the election. I really don't see the Democrats winning this. I think it's fair to say Trump's going to win re-election. I think Trump might have a massive, massive victory, which shocks the left. I think we're looking at a Trump victory, man. Trump 2020 landslide, even with everything going on with COVID. I think that's what we can expect. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Trump had a 49-state landslide. I think we could see a 49-state landslide. We may be looking at a Mondale-Reagan type scenario where Trump landslides 49 states. And we may see a 49-state landslide. Maybe a 50-state landslide. That'd be amazing.
You get it. Tim Pool doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Tucker White 94 now kindly sawed off Dracon. Third place on the bits chart is mine.
Seriously. Now, you get these lefties who said that I was claiming Trump was going to win a 49-state landslide.
Yeah, we just watched those clips. We literally just watched them.
Because they take the hypotheticals out of the context. The context before, for the most part, was me saying, like, if Trump legalizes pot and pardons Assange and appoints Tulsi Gabbard, like, things he probably wasn't going to do. I'd say that's how he...
That's not how people talk about things. That doesn't make any sense, Tim. Real Xandercuck with 50 bits. I wish I had a fraction of Tim's undeserved confidence. Devious Chillster with 20 bits. Tim Pool is just the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme incarnated into a man with a beanie. Tucker White 94. Those clips were taken out of context, Hannah, in the SpongeBob sarcastic text.
There's nothing funny
Sure
about
they
the
were.
tools of
gets
capitalism.
that 49-state landslide. I said things like, if the far left, escalates this violence and come election day, we see widespread rioting across the country, Trump will definitely do a 49-state landslide. They like to cut that out and say that I was predicting just for no reason Trump was going to win with a massive landslide. Here's what matters. The polls said Trump was down double digits in some states, and that was ridiculous.
The Dirty Bird with 50 bits. If Trump was a different person, he would have gotten different election results. True.
Ridiculous. The historical margin of failure for the polls was now 4-7. And based on everything we saw down ballot, my prediction should have been better that I think Trump's probably going to win. And so will, down ballot votes. In which case, you take a look at the House races in the state level, and the state House levels and the U.S. House, and you see Republicans did really, really well. So I don't know. Anyway, look, I digress. I don't know.
Was his claim there that if he said a different thing, then he would have been right? Because that's a really bad way of trying to justify you being wrong. Yeah. I could also say, if I guessed the lot, if I said, like, let's say there's a lottery and the lottery gets called and I look at the numbers and I go, if I had just said these numbers, I would have won the lottery. It's like, yeah, that's technically true, but you didn't. So what's the point of saying it?
My predictions are worth, okay? If you want to believe Trump is going to win, please do so with my blessing. I'm just saying, this is unprecedented. And I have a normalcy bias. The establishment has been prevailing for some time. They blocked up Trump. They jammed him up. They caused so many problems to his presidency.
Trump had the House and the Senate for the first 2 years. He could have done whatever he wanted.
I just don't see why it would be that they just can't maintain some kind of control. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the dueling electors will play out and they'll go to Trump. It's really actually not that far-fetched to think the Republicans in the Senate are going to say, we pick the Republican electors.
And that wouldn't work, because that's not how it works, because the House and the Senate need to work together on that shit.
Well, keep in mind, you got people like, like Murkowski or whatever. You got a Manchin. You've got Republicans who are not going to play with this, play ball. And they're going to say Joe Biden. So that's just basically why I don't think it's going to play out this way. I think Joe Biden is going to be sworn in as the next president, and it's going to be really weird. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. I think it's horrifying.
You think Joe Biden's going to be really weird relative to Donald Trump? What?
But that's where we're at so far. But I'll tell you this. I could be wrong. Come January 6th, could be wrong. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up tonight live, youtube.com/TimCastIRL. We're going to be having a good show, and we'll talk about this stuff with the crew. So make sure you check out youtube.com/TimCastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.
Jesus Christ, Tim. How does it hurt? Would it not hurt to be this wrong all the time? Did he start doing skateboarding videos yet? I know he said he was going to start doing skateboarding videos to get the youths on his side. Doesn't look like he's started yet. I'm very excited to see Tim try and get hip with the kids. That'll be fun. Ooh, he's live right now.
I won't do what you tell me.
Yep.
Now they're saying,
Jesus
F you better
Christ.
do what we tell you.
Tim. So that's Tim Pool. Absolutely full of shit. As per usual.